Hello and welcome to the VIEW Apprenticeship Podcast. I am joined by Emma. Emma, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Emma and I'm a past apprentice. I started in March 2021 as an apprentice and I finished it in July 2022, and now I am a video editor for VIEW and I've been here for 3 years and 6 months.
I am Jasmine. I have been an apprentice with VIEW for just a year now, only a year.
Happy birthday.
Happy apprenticeship birthday at VIEW, and obviously having been at VIEW all of that time as well, so I've also been at VIEW for a year. Today we will be discussing some details on apprenticeship, why we decided to do apprenticeship specifically, and we'll be going down the route of some photography related information. We are both primarily video editors. I do a little bit of animation. You're an excellent video editor, but alongside that we also do photography, and that's one of our shared interests. I'm going to put up this first prompt, which is, why did you choose to do an apprenticeship over attending university?
Okay, so mine was quite complicated. So when I finished school, COVID was after, and I didn't really fancy university because of it. When I researched it, basically it seemed quite essay based, and it was very theory based and exam based, which is not something I really enjoyed when I was in school. I'm more of like a practical learner. I don't know if you're the same.
Yeah, I think I'm quite similar in that regard.
Yeah, definitely. So I didn't want to be sat in like a uni hall listening to a lecturer. So then I decided that a level 3 apprenticeship would benefit me more because of my practical learning. So the skills I learned throughout my apprenticeship and now post apprenticeship from my employer and the actual apprenticeship course, they've sort of shaped me into being a content creator now. But yeah, that was why I chose that an apprenticeship rather than university.
Yeah, so obviously we're doing similar apprenticeships but not ones that are exactly the same, but the content creator side of that I think is really interesting, and that's why I was drawn to it as well. So directly before I started my apprenticeship, I had finished my A-levels and then done a year foundation degree. I went to university to do an art foundation degree. So that was at university level, but not a full degree. And I really did not like the teaching aspect of it and how it was graded as well. I think even in terms of just art being graded in general is a very flimsy line to walk. So something like an apprenticeship where you're working and you're dealing with people who are already in the industry and know what they're doing, I find, even though now we have restrictions with things like client guidelines, I think they're a lot more understandable and helpful. Yeah, I chose my apprenticeship particularly because of the industry as well. I'd done A-level art and university level art degree, and I just found that it wasn't for me, and I wanted to try something new. Had this passion in photography, but the on-the-job experience and that tactile learning is so much better than anything I could have gotten in university, and I think I've definitely made the right decision. Starting off working as well, I think for an industry like video editing, just to get straight in there and be working with people who have done it for years as well is so helpful. Even seeing you work.
Yeah, I feel like when I joined mine, I benefited a lot from the senior people in our company. They basically taught me everything I know now to date, because I haven't had another job before this. So I'm obviously, it was like a fresh student basically.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see how, obviously you've only done a year, but it's nice to see how I've developed from when I started to now, and now helping you, I get to give the skills that I learned onto you, and it's sort of like a full circle moment. But it was also great to learn to like communicate professionally with clients.
Yeah.
Traveling with the company on shoots, and like you said, just being in a work environment from a young age, and like learning how to be professional, I guess, in a working environment.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something you would learn in university.
No, I think I did a project in university on how to work through a set of guidelines, and I felt now going into client work, it didn't particularly prepare me very well. A lot of the apprenticeship has been learning as you're doing it, and I think that's it. It pushes you sometimes out of your comfort zone, but in the end, it's really beneficial to just get you going. And it keeps you in that mindset of, oh, I am working, this is a job, I'm still learning at the same time. I think it pushes you in that direction. It helps you move forward perhaps quicker than you would do in a university environment, particularly, again, as you mentioned, with the leads and the senior people at the company. Having and seeing people that have done this for so many years, you don't really get that in uni. You'll have perhaps a tutor, but everyone else is sort of on the same level as you. And I think having a variety of people with different skills and different productions and things like that, it's very interesting to look at, and you put your hands in so many pots during the apprenticeship. You learn everything, and it means when you start working, you're so prepared to do anything that's thrown at you. Yeah. Even if you might not feel like that, you do know quite a lot.
Yeah, I definitely didn't think I'd be learning sort of like pre-production, and we've basically learned the whole process of production from the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
And I feel like we always have our hands in it at either point, more on the side of post-production, video editing, but throughout my apprenticeship I did learn, and post-apprenticeship I did learn and have learned each process, and that is something you need to know when being in this industry. You can't just sort of be in one section, and the apprenticeship definitely really helped with that.
I think the apprenticeship also, with you having done it before, having you as a mentor has just been so important for me doing so. Was there someone that did apprenticeship before you? You were the first one to do it here.
Yeah, this course I was the first one. So there was a girl before me that did a different course. She did a marketing one. But I was the first one here to do this course, so I helped Megan, another post apprentice, and then you as well.
Yeah. So you were the content creator apprenticeship Bible, as it were.
The first.
Yes.
But I did find it quite hard, actually. I got senior members of staff to help me throughout my apprenticeship. Everyone basically helped me in the company. But I'm sort of like happy that you and Megan have a mentor or someone who's gone through it before, because I literally wish I had that.
Yeah.
Even with the endpoint assessment, when you get to that, it's nice just knowing what's going to happen on that day.
Yeah.
Whereas also I went in blind.
Yeah, I think having those different levels of people in the company that you can speak to, but especially having someone like you who has done it before, it was extremely helpful to know what was coming, have a little bit more preparation and advice directly from someone who'd done it, because of course all of the leads and senior members of staff are extremely helpful in the practical side of things, but for apprenticeship, just knowing the scheme itself and seeing someone who's done it and finished it as well was very helpful to have.
Yep.
I'm going to go into the second prompt, which is, what are some things that you've done during apprenticeship that you think you would have been unlikely to do at university?
During my apprenticeship, I had to do some research on university versus apprenticeships as well.
Yeah.
And I found what I basically said in that, and it was that when I spoke to individuals who had gone to university, they said that they didn't have the opportunity for a placement year. Doing an apprenticeship, you get thrown straight into on-the-job work, and you get all these opportunities to go on shoots. I've gone on a few client shoots, like quite big ones at MLB, Jessica Vanderwert and Fatboy Slim, the photography exhibition.
Yeah.
So that one was like crazy. But I feel like each shoot I've been on, I've learnt something new, whether it's to do with photography or shooting B-roll or setting up equipment. It's just also helped me develop client relationships. So that's definitely something that I've learned like during and after my apprenticeship. that I feel like you wouldn't do at university as much.
Yeah, I think, the shoots especially are so valuable to see how people work, but also just getting yourself in there and figuring out things. And particularly for photography and filming, I found that going out on the shoots has really helped me continue to develop those skills. I think another great shoot that we both did together was the Weights and Biases conference up in London. So that was a big shoot that required everyone at VIEW to be hands on deck for that. So we were doing filming and photography at that event.
Yeah, we were both photographers, weren't we?
Yeah.
Multiple speakers, multiple presentations.
Multiple cameras.
Yeah, multiple cameras. It was quite a big production actually, so that was really fun to do. And I'm pretty sure they were a new client as well.
Yeah.
So it was nice to see how they worked with us and building a relationship with them. But yeah, that was sort of quite a recent shoot that we did, and yeah, I think that sort of helped me as well develop my skills in event photography for future ones, basically.
Yeah, that was one of the first times I'd also done things with audio, because we were recording those speakers. In a lot of the speaker presentations, we would be recording them and recording audio, and often there was a separation between where the audio was situated and where the camera was, so it was learning to balance that as well, having to make sure that it's still recording the audio, make sure that the camera's in the right place.
Yeah, mine was halfway across the room.
Yeah,
so I had to keep switching back.
So was mine as well. I think the variety of the work that we did on that shoot was really interesting to see, and everyone worked together really well, and I think the client was really happy with what we produced.
Yeah, because we delivered all the photos afterwards. Yeah, they were very happy with everything we did. It's sort of nice getting the feedback from the client as well.
Yeah.
And seeing that they're very happy with what we produced. Like I said before, it's quite a boost. It gives you like a confident boost as well.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of the time in university, tutors are critiquing your work in a way to help you get better, but sometimes that can feel really down-putting. I think a lot of tutors feel like they have to give you some sort of critique on your work, like your work is never going to be perfect. And I think having a client where you have a brief, knowing exactly what you have to meet to have them be happy with the content that you're producing is really helpful. And as you said, getting that feedback and seeing a client really be happy with what you've personally produced is a really good feeling.
Yeah, definitely.
Or even things that we do for socials, something like Macmillan Coffee Morning, even though it was a small scale, and it continues even past the shoot, because then you've got the content and you're having to edit photos. I think social media is actually a big part of the apprenticeship scheme, because it is content creation. Of course, we're creating content for client, but we're also creating content for ourselves as VIEW, as a business, to market and promote ourselves, and also just show off what we're doing on certain shoots and things like that. And having that balance, doing client work and social work, I think it ties in quite well with the apprenticeship, and it helps you develop skills in a lot of different areas. Like, you've got these sort of accolades, you've worked with these really big companies. Yeah, something like MLB, our photos got put up on their website. Quite a lot of the photography that we did there got promoted by them, which is, and on their social media. Yeah, I think social media is something really important as well, that's important in the world of work, that you don't necessarily learn a lot about in, say you're doing a film production course, you're not going to learn much about that, but you're probably going to end up in a job where you have to learn something like that. Someone's got to manage everyone's company's social media, and it could end up being you.
It did end up being me.
Yeah, it was.
I think that like the apprenticeship really helped with the social media side of it, because I learned a lot about social media, all the analytics, how to read them, the SEO and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you're saying, social media is a very big part of our job, which I never thought it would be.
Yeah, I didn't think that either.
But yeah, like you said, we can then also, like, once we know this information and how to read analytics, we can even help our clients help them understand their social media.
Yeah.
And it's just, I guess, pushing our knowledge onto them as well.
Yeah. I think it was also a good way to help me start creating content, because of course nobody's going to get thrown into client work on the first day that you're starting. And quite a lot of the content I was doing when I first joined VIEW as an apprentice was things for our social media. I remember one of my first projects was for World Photography Day, which was actually now a year ago. Yeah. And now I'm doing the second, so I did one for 2023 and now I'm doing the 2024. And seeing the skill development there has definitely been interesting. The 2023 one was just our photos with some illustration or graphical design that we popped on Instagram. And now I'm doing a fully motion graphics heavy video with all of our edited photos to music, with call to actions. There's such a step up there, but
yeah, it's a good way to measure it, isn't it?
And it also can help you learn about things like client guidelines, because obviously VIEW is a company and we do have our own brand guidelines, and that, I think, knowing about ours helped me prep for when I started client content.
Yeah, 100%. I think I started with doing my own introduction video. You did the same, so it was that helped. I did the project from beginning to end, so it's also learning that. I think something that VIEW did really well was throwing us into creating a project for ourselves to introduce ourselves to the company. So we'd literally write the script, come up with the idea with the visuals and like how we basically wanted the video to be produced.
Yeah.
Then we were the producer, we helped film it, we starred in it. So from that we learned all aspects of production as well.
Yeah, I think something like the introduction video is so valuable at the beginning of your apprenticeship, again, to learn how the whole production process works and prep you for this client work. It's also just something really fun to do and nice to have. Like it's a great, I think it's a really good starting project for when you're starting here, but also starting your apprenticeship.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a good thing to have to show and be like, here's something that I made and I was involved in every aspect of it.
Yeah, it also shows how far you've come with editing it as well. I had no idea how to edit in Final Cut when I joined. I was Premiere Pro, but that was a push.
Yeah,
literally.
I had zero editing skills when I started, which is ridiculous to think about.
Exactly, and then we've basically learnt how to use a software in our apprenticeship. Multiple softwares, so we know the whole Adobe suite, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
I'm learning DaVinci at the moment as well, so that's another step up of editing. But it's just like how we use those softwares in our portfolio. You would have to explain to the person how to use it in the endpoint assessment as well. So it's sort of, you need to know that software in order to then show your skills in the apprenticeship and in the endpoint assessment and explaining it all. We've learnt so many softwares throughout the years.
Yep, I think having access to those softwares as well is so helpful. Also being able to use them for client work and apprenticeship work has been particularly helpful for when I'm doing projects, because it means I've already learnt how to use something like Final Cut to do things for our socials but for clients, and it also means that when I'm doing certain projects, video projects for apprenticeship, I can also use that software and I already know all the details of it. Right now, I think my big step up was learning After Effects. Learning video editing was already like such a huge step for me, having never done much of anything before. And that second step, going into motion graphics and learning a whole new suite in the form of After Effects, was so interesting. But it's helped me so much with client projects, and it's just helpful to have another piece of industry level software. But I've also been able to use it for things like the World Photography Day social. I used After Effects to make a lot of the graphics for that, and I think it's a really sleek looking video, and I wouldn't have been able to make something like that in Final Cut purely, I don't think.
Yeah, that would be quite hard to be able to do what you did.
But yeah, learning lots of new softwares, even something like Lightroom, which is so important for photography, especially like batch editing photos. But it's software that's industry level as well. So many people use these softwares and you might not get access to them or have as much time to go through them in depth if you were at university.
Yeah, like you said, it's really nice when we join this company to be able to use all those softwares for client work, social, and even personal, because we're allowed to use it for personal as well. So that's quite nice.
Yeah, I found myself using Lightroom a lot one of the first external photography shoots that I did after starting my apprenticeship, I had 1,000 photos to go through, and I probably wouldn't have been able to do that if I had not learnt Lightroom beforehand. I would have really struggled with those. But it helps you continue to develop those skills that you can then use alongside and use it for our social videos and client work. Speaking of photography, how has your apprenticeship helped you develop your skills directly? I think photography is a good sort of mutual skill set that we have, but also for things like video editing, motion graphics.
Well, with photography, doing my apprenticeship, it sort of made me realise how much I actually love photography and how much I wish I studied it at A-level. I've been lucky enough to have the opportunity here and during my apprenticeship to like develop my skills in photography basically, so it didn't matter that I didn't do it at A-level. So I've been able to develop my skills by editing client photos and, like we said before, going on shoots and actually being a photographer on a client shoot.
Yeah.
Which is quite nerve-wracking, like on your first one.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh my god, these people are actually going to be using these photos, and it's a lot of pressure. But then when you see the outcome and how happy they are with it, it really like boosts your confidence and shows how much I've learned in that, starting my photography journey to now.
I think mentioning client shoots, photography specific as well, is really helpful, because obviously most of the time you're not just going to be doing photography, or at least the rest of the crew will not be. And learning the logistics of how to work around a whole crew of people, especially for something like event photography, try not to get in the way of each other, try not to get in the way of just general bystanders, but making sure that you still get that content and get those shots, I don't think is something that you would necessarily experience at university, but it helps you really develop your skills because you're learning how to do photography in general, but also how to do it as part of a team.
Yeah, definitely. And meeting briefs, because we'll get given a shot list, and we have to make sure we've got every single shot on that shot list. Yeah. For the client, because otherwise they won't be very happy, and we want to make our clients happy, obviously. Being able to go out and actually put your skills to the test. Yeah. It's fine all like watching a tutorial on how to do it, but actually going out and doing it is another thing. That's where it really sticks in your head, especially for me because of being a practical learner and all. Yeah. But it definitely helped. Yeah,
I think that's the main takeaway from apprenticeship, is that tactile and practical learning. I think for people, especially like us, it sticks so much better to get in there and be doing things directly rather than be doing, or as you said at the beginning, just listening to a lecture. I think it's so important to generate those skills or develop your skills naturally.
Yeah, even like I said with this course, it's now pushed me to like invest in, I brought my own camera. Yeah. So I can actually now, like in my personal life, I go and actually take photos now, develop my skills further in that. They're not sort of like obviously what we do for client work, where it's more event stuff and headshots maybe, but this is more of like the freedom where I have, where I can go take the shots that I want, and I have the equipment to do that, which then also helps develop my skills. So I'm able to like help with client shoots when they need a photographer, and it's also just nice to develop myself personally as a photographer and my own like personal portfolio.
Yeah, I found that I didn't do a lot of that when I did my foundation course. I felt like I was only really doing photography when I was at university, and now joining VIEW, I do so much more outside of the job, and it continues to help me develop my skills. And it's also, working at VIEW has given me the chance to build a portfolio and help me get these fun shoots outside of work as well, which then in turn, it's very cyclical, where you've already developed your skills being an apprentice. You can get these extra shoots outside of work that are really fun to do. I'm doing a concert shoot in September for a band that I shot last year. So again, that sort of, I've come full circle, starting the apprenticeship, doing this band, and now doing the same band a year later. I'll be really interested to see, hopefully, an increase in quality of my work as well, and those skills that I've learned in taking photos, learning how to work in an event environment, and the editing in general. I think it'll be really interesting to compare those two together.
Yeah, definitely. That'd be cool to see.
Thank you for having a chat with me. This was very lovely. I think we've gone through a lot of great points and had a really in-depth discussion about how we feel apprenticeship has benefited us directly. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you again next time.